You're listening to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky Duraeus. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky Duraeus right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, here to review Friday Night SmackDown from August 4th, 2023. It is the final SmackDown before tonight's Summerslam pay-per-view in Detroit at Ford Field, where the main event will be a tribal combat between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso for the undisputed title. Overall thoughts on this SmackDown show. Honestly, it was not the best show. I didn't really enjoy the show as much as I thought I was. If anything, I thought Raw was actually a little bit more enjoyable than this show, to be quite honest with you. Really, the more important things that happened on the show was really the Bloodline stuff with Jey Uso and Solo Sikoa as they faced off in the main event. Another takeaway that I can give you for this show was the Street Profits. Yes, the Street Profits made their, I don't want to say official return, but they came back in style, wearing suits and all, and it looks like they are paired with Bobby Lashley, which I honestly believe it's a great direction for the Street Profits, because even though I'm a big fan of the Street Profits, I feel like with their babyface run, with them being on the main roster since 2019, I feel like they've gone a little bit stale. And I feel like this is something new and fresh for the Street Profits, and it can really give them that shot in the arm that they desperately need at the end of the day. Aside from that, nothing really special happened on this show. We had LA Knight versus Sheamus. We had Austin Theory, be involved in this show, as I believe, who did he wrestle tonight? I completely forgot who he was wrestling. He was wrestling Cameron Grimes in a relatively short match. We had the Greyson Waller effect, which I honestly didn't care about, and we had Iyo Sky and Zelina Vega. But nonetheless, this show, for me, I just didn't really care a lot about what was going on this show. Of course, tonight's going to be a big show as we have SummerSlam happening in Detroit. SummerSlam, of course, it's one of the biggest shows of the year, probably the second biggest show in the pay-per-view calendar, to say the least. And I'm really excited for the show. I think SummerSlam is going to be a phenomenal show. Usually when it comes to recent WWE PLEs, they knocked it out of the park throughout the past couple of months. Ever since Triple H took over, really, their pay-per-views have been absolutely just can't miss. They tend to top themselves all the time when it comes to their pay-per-views. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about SmackDown and much more right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, of course, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Of course, if you guys had missed it, the AEW Dynamite 200 review is up on the channel. We're celebrating 200 episodes of amazing moments and memories. If you guys missed the AEW Dynamite 200 review, the link will be in the description below. It was a phenomenal show. We finally figured out what the main event of All In at Wembley Stadium will be, and it will be Adam Cole taking on MJF for the Triple B, the AEW World Championship. The Elite signed new contracts with the company, so the heart and soul will be staying with AEW. And Kenny Omega teased going to Collision. Very weird stuff. I'm interested. If you guys want to check out the AEW Dynamite review, the link will be in the description below. Also, if you guys had missed it, episode 24 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast is up on the channel as well. I talk about the heart and soul of AEW signing new deals with the company. Of course, the majority of the concern throughout this year regarding AEW was whether or not the Elite was going to stay with the company or not, but it looks like the Elite will be staying with AEW, that consisting of course, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page. All of them will stay with the company for at least the next 4 to 5 years, and they got significant increases, and we actually found out more about the Young Bucks and their deals. Apparently, their deals are worth way more than Scott Hall's and Kevin Nash's WCW contracts, which is absolutely insane. But if you guys haven't checked out episode 24 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, the link will be in the description below. All right, let's go ahead and kick off SmackDown. The show starts with LA Knight taking on Sheamus. LA Knight comes out and he cuts a promo. LA Knight, of course, he's one of the hottest acts in WWE right now, and he is mega over with the audience. So he cuts a promo. Let me talk to you. Yeah, at SummerSlam weekend, or I should say it's SummerSlam weekend, They say it's the biggest party of the summer, and he looks ahead and he sees a 25-man battle royal, and he thinks about all of the different competitors in the battle royal. He, of course, sees a land of misfit toys, and he sees a lot of stooges. If you've never been called a stooge before, he takes pride in calling a stooge a stooge. Yeah, stooge. Yeah. Everyone got a chance. You got Miz over here. What's the matter? He thought he was Mr. Must-See TV. Nana. I always like it when LA Knight does the nana. Look at Sheamus. Of course, he thinks of the business that happens tonight. Don't get me wrong. He's done it all. He's been a world heavyweight champion, U.S. champion, but tonight he will add more to his accomplishment because he hasn't been beaten by the one and only when everybody is saying LA Knight. Yeah. So the match starts. We're going to go through the match briefly. When it comes to the matches, I'm going to kind of like skimmer through them quickly because I'm actually on a rush right now. LA Knight slams down Sheamus. He hits an elbow drop. He takes Sheamus up and drops him down face first. We get a cover and a near fall. Later on in the match, Sheamus then tries to go for the... no, not Sheamus. LA Knight tries to go for the BFT, the blunt force drama, but Sheamus counters with the roll-up and we get a near fall. Sheamus ends up going for an Irish curse backbreaker, but then Sheamus takes LA Knight up and then he climbs up to the second rope, but then he ends up hitting a super white noise off the top, that being the second rope, not really the top. And we get a cover and a kick out. Later on, everybody involved in the Battle Royal is on the outside, but then Austin Theory manages to attack Santos Escobar. And what happens is a fight between the Brawling Brutes and the OC and just Cross. Like, everybody just brawls with one another involved in the Battle Royal. Butch goes for a sleeper on Cross, but then, of course, AJ Styles takes Butch and Cross down. Sheamus grabs Miz, and then he ends up hitting the 10 beats of the Bowering, but then later on, Miz is still up on the apron. LA Knight almost blocks the Miz, but then when he ducks, Sheamus hits a bro kick on Miz, taking him out. And then Sheamus hits the BFT, the blunt force trauma, to get the win. He sends Cross to the outside, and LA Knight immediately retreats when everybody else comes in the ring. But what happens is Grayson Waller, Santos Escobar, and Karrion Kross are in the ring together, which is the most randomest pairing you could ever think about. And that was that. Overall, it was pretty obvious that LA Knight should have gotten this win, and he did. LA Knight is super over with the audience. I think they really need to react quickly because LA Knight, again, he's one of the hottest acts right now, and usually the saying goes, if you get hot by yourself in the WWE, 9 times out of 10, they don't really give a shit about that. But I feel like times have changed, and I think WWE really sees the potential in LA Knight, and I do think that hopefully further on down the line, they will eventually push him. We hear all these reports of, when they will push LA Knight. They're going to push him immediately after WrestleMania. We waited. They're going to push him immediately after SummerSlam. We're still waiting. I think LA Knight, nobody's asking for him to beat Roman Reigns or go after the World Heavyweight Championship. But everybody is honestly saying, like, bro, at least give this man his flowers. Like, have him go after the U.S. title. Because let's be honest, Austin Theory is doing absolutely nothing with that United States Championship right now. Ever since WrestleMania, and I talked about this for weeks, ever since WrestleMania where he beat John Cena in the opening match of night 1 of WrestleMania, what has Austin Theory done? I'll give you the answer. He has done absolutely nothing. And it's not his fault. It's really the booking. He's really had no focus on the show, to be quite honest with you. And honestly, I think we need to move on from Austin Theory and move on to Mr. L.A. Knight. All right. After that, the Brawling Brutes and the OC are arguing. Adam Pearce is pissed off, and then later on, we have AJ Styles and Sheamus facing off. We then get the same video package that we saw this past Monday on Raw of Cody Rhodes taking on Brock Lesnar. I actually put this, even though this video package in a way, when it comes to the music choice, it kind of doesn't make any sense. I really enjoyed the video package. I was one of the very few that actually enjoyed the video package. And it was the same video package that we saw this past Monday on Raw. After that, we got the Brawling Brutes taking on the OC, that being, of course, Rich Holland and Butch, a.k.a. Pete Dunne, taking on the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. I still call Luke Gallows Doc Gallows. Rich Holland spins, I believe it was Carl Anderson around, and Butch makes the tag. He hits a running shotgun dropkick. Butch then drives his boot onto the head of Anderson, and then he tries to break the fingers of Carl Anderson. He then stomps on the arm of Anderson, but then Butch counters to work on Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson then drags him into the corner. Gallows makes the tag, and then we get the double team by the Good Brothers, but then later on, Carl Anderson is in control. Holland is the legal man, and then he ends up hitting a lariat on Carl Anderson. Butch makes the tag, and then he takes everybody out, and then we get repeated kicks by Butch, but then he drives his knee on Anderson. After that, we get a running kick by Butch, but then we get a cover, and Luke Gallows comes in. Rich Holland then comes in, but then Rich tries to pick up Luke Gallows, but then we get a backdrop by Holland. Then we get a kick by Anderson, followed by an enziguri by Butch on Anderson. So it looks like at this point the Brawling Brutes are in control. And what happens is out of nowhere, the Street Profits come out and immediately attack everybody involved in the match, which causes a disqualification. And they are wearing suits. A funny note by Michael Cole is Dawkins is wearing a suit. If you guys do not remember last week, Dawkins, was wearing sweatpants and a sweater, and he was with Bobby Lashley and Montez Ford, and Bobby Lashley was like, dude, you should wear a suit. And after that, they attack the OC and the Brawling Brutes. Ford sends Anderson to Dawkins and drives him down. It looked like it was a Liger bomb. After that, we get a silencer by Dawkins on Rich Holland. Butch comes in, looks like he tried to apply a sleeper, but Dawkins ends up hitting the pounce, period. Shout out to Monty Brown. And he sends Ford, and Ford ends up hitting a slam. They then leave, they go to the stage, and what happens is Bobby Lashley. Yes, Bobby Lashley comes in, and he basically celebrates with them, as you see over here, and it looks like the Street Profits have a brand new direction for them. Overall thoughts on this whole thing that went down. Really, this was the main thing that happened during this whole match. It was really the Street Profits. I'm a big fan of the Street Profits. I can remember last year where everybody was talking about, oh my God, what if they split the Street Profits? Who's going to turn heel on who? And they've been kind of teasing that last year. And then they kind of stopped with that. And honestly, I think that's the best decision for that. Because if you think about it, the Street Profits are such a good tag team, and I think there's steam left in the Street Profits. And honestly, with this new direction, with them being paired with Bobby Lashley, I think that's the best direction for them. Because if you think about it, as baby faces, and I do believe that they're baby faces right now because the crowd absolutely loved what they saw. But if you think about it, the Street Profits as babyface with their current incarnation were starting to get a little bit stale. And if you think about it, we needed to see something new. And I think this is the best way to really showcase that. I think the Street Profits are a phenomenal tag team. You guys know my thoughts on Montez Ford. Ever since I started this podcast, I've been, giving my praises and putting over Montez Ford because this guy is such a singles star. You can tell in the future this man's going to be a world champion. Dawkins, too. Don't even count out Dawkins. I know a lot of people tend to point out the Marty Jannetty of the group, and a lot of people call Angelo Dawkins the Marty Jannetty of the entire group. But if you think about it, Dawkins has been, in all of his matches, especially the last couple months, man, this guy has been showcased very, very, very well. He knows everybody's saying, Ford is the better of the two, but don't count out Dawkins, man. Dawkins is very good at what he does. But nonetheless, them being paired with Bobby Lashley, I think it's a great decision. Could this be the return of the Hurt Business? I honestly doubt it. I think it's something completely new. I may be wrong. Maybe it is the Hurt Business. We're going to have to wait and see. But honestly, with the Street Profits being paired with Bobby Lashley, I think we're in for something very, very, very special. And hopefully WWE continues on with what they are doing right over here. After that, we got the Tribal Combat segment. Paul Heyman is in the ring. And he talks about what happens to Jey Uso. Won't be Jey's fault. It won't be his fault. It will be the accountability of your tribal chief, Mr. Head of the Table, Roman Reigns. And there will be no plea, there will be no regret, and there will be no forgiveness. Because when Roman enters the ring tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, he will be cognizant that Roman is entering the match called Tribal Combat. And then they showcase a video package of the history of Tribal Combat and the history of the Ula Fala. It's basically the red necklace that Roman Reigns is wearing. And Rikishi, in this video package, talks about how the Ula Fala is basically what higher chiefs wear. And it comes with respect. Of course, Afa and Sika talk about the importance of the Ula Fala. I believe Afa is the uncle of Roman Reigns, and Sika is the father of Roman Reigns. And then when the challenge is made by, of course, the Upriser, and Paul Heyman is literally speaking in the background, they have to contend in a match where there is no rules and there has to be a winner. And the winner, of course, will be the undisputed champion, and the winner will be the tribal chief. So then the camera pans back into the ring. Paul Heyman speaks. He talks about how Roman Reigns is your reigning defending undisputed heavyweight champion. He is your tribal chief, and he has been both for damn near 3 years in the WWE. And talks about how Jey Uso will never be Roman Reigns. And he can't stand here and say that, oh, it's a prediction, it's a spoiler, because the only spoiler that he will give is that he immediately stops because Jey Uso's music plays. Jey Uso comes out. Jey is in the ring. He takes his time to speak. We get a bunch of Uso chants by the crowd. Jey, of course, he's taking his time. Yeah, and he says, "You're right, OG. Tomorrow night, tribal combat is happening." So yeah, he will light him up with sticks and chairs. And, of course, he's the head of the table, and he's definitely going through a table. He's forgotten to mention this passion. He will bring all of this passion tomorrow night at SummerSlam. He will bring the spirit of his ancestors. He will bring his family. He will bring the culture. And tomorrow, he's beating Roman to become the new tribal chief and the new undisputed champion. And then his little brother, Solo Sikoa, comes out. Solo comes out, and Jey tells him to chill out. Because you know how Solo is, man. He's, he can be a crazy son of a bitch, but, he's that, he is the strong, silent type, to say the least. He's like Tony Soprano in Dr. Melfi's office, Barry Cooper, the strong, silent type. Solo Sikoa is the strong, silent type. So Solo Sikoa comes out. Jey tells him to chill out. Paul says, "I think these people are trying to say, you done screwed up." And Jey says, "Little brother, it don't matter what happens between me and you. You will always be my brother, and I will always forgive you. But trust me, man, they did the same thing to me. You always take orders." Paul tells him to stop. But then Solo looks at Paul, and then Paul pulls him aside. And then Paul is calling by his name, and then Solo tells him to get out. But then Jey ends up hitting a super kick after that. Jey hits a super kick. Jey then sees Paul Heyman in the ring. And what happens is he says, "Tell his cousin, or my cousin, I will see him tomorrow night. And my little brother, I will see him later on tonight." Overall, man, this was a great segment. It does suck that we did not get Roman Reigns on this show. And you can tell Roman Reigns' presence on the show is greatly missed when he is not there. Because if you think about it, especially with a big match like Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns happening, you would think that the last SmackDown before SummerSlam, you'd have Roman Reigns on the show. But unfortunately, Roman Reigns was not on the show, and they really needed to turn chicken shit from chicken salad. Not to say that this whole thing was chicken shit, because this whole thing was a very good segment. But again, it's something different when Roman Reigns is involved. And it sucks that Roman Reigns was not involved. And you can tell they're doing something with Solo Sikoa, and they're planting the seeds with what they're going to be doing with Solo Sikoa. I think it's safe to say that Jey Uso is not going to walk out the undisputed champion at SummerSlam tonight. Do I think it could happen? There's a slight chance that it could happen. But at the same time, if Jey Uso does become the undisputed champion, what happens to Cody? How would Cody's momentum be once we head to WrestleMania 40? Because we know next year, WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, we all know. I mean, it's not only in the rumor mill, but it's pretty obvious we're going to be getting Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns too. And what would happen with Cody's momentum? Cody is he's no longer the first guy to pin Roman Reigns. And I feel like that sucks for Cody if you really think about it. But also, if you think about it, Solo Sikoa, they're planting the seeds for him to become the next tribal chief. They've been teasing it ever since, I believe it was the SmackDown before Money in the Bank. So who knows what could happen, but something big is going to go down tonight at SummerSlam between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. But overall, I enjoyed this segment for what it was. Again, it does suck that Roman Reigns was not on this show. If Roman Reigns was on this show and on this segment, I think this would have been 10 times better. But that's just my thoughts. But overall, this was not a bad segment whatsoever. And I'm honestly excited to see what we are going to be seeing tonight at SummerSlam in Ford Field. All right, moving on. We got Cameron Grimes taking on Austin Theory. Before he had his match, he had a backstage interview in Gorilla. Talks about how Santos actually won the match against Rey Mysterio because, of course, Rey Mysterio got injured. And he says he hopes Rey Mysterio is watching because when he beats Santos Escobar, he will dedicate that victory to Rey Mysterio. But now he's focused on Cameron Grimes, and he will crash his dreams and welcome him to Austin Theory live. So we got Cameron Grimes taking on Austin Theory. This was a relatively short match. Grimes did get some offense in the match, but it wasn't that long when it came to the offense. Theory is in control. Santos Escobar comes in, but the referees block him from interfering. Of course, Santos Escobar is the man that won the United States Championship Invitational, which honestly I do believe it should have been LA Knight at the end of the day, but I digress. He will be facing Austin Theory next week on SmackDown. Theory is distracted. He turns around. Grimes immediately goes for the cave-in. We got a cover into near fall when he gets his foot on the rope. We get a tope by Grimes, but then Grimes sends Theory repeatedly to the barricade. He takes Theory into the ring, but he goes to the top and he ends up hitting a crossbody. And we get a cover and a near fall. We get a series of chops by Grimes, and then we get a right hand by Grimes, and then he drops down Theory. And then we get a cover into near fall. We get a kick to the chest of Theory, but both men collide with one another. Grimes then gains the advantage from the crash, but we get a cover by Grimes and a kick out. Theory escapes the cave-in attempt, and then later Theory is in control. Grimes is on the top, but then Theory comes in, he picks him up, and he hits the A-Town down. And we get a cover, and Austin Theory wins, and Santos comes in. He proceeds to attack Austin Theory, and he stands tall into the center of the ring. After that, we got a video package for Asuka preparing her match. One thing that I enjoyed about this show is that we had, especially for the triple threat, they aired individual video packages of Charlotte, Asuka, and Bianca, and these were very well-produced video packages talking about the importance of this triple threat match, which honestly I'm not really that excited about, but I applaud WWE for actually trying to make you care about this whole match. After that, we got the Grayson Waller effect. You guys already know my thoughts on talk show segments. I despise them. The reason why I despise them is because of the fact that we see them all the frickin' time. We see them all. WWE has been obsessed for decades with talk show segments. I get it. The appeal, Piper's Pit, the Miz TV. I get it. The cutting edge. But like, bro, when's enough? Like, I'm tired of these talk show segments. Like, can we just have a normal segment for God's sakes? Talks about it's SummerSlam weekend and everybody's talking about Grayson Waller. No, I'm not. Before he wins the Battle Royal, he will give one person the Grayson Waller rub. One woman ain't enough for him. And he brings out Iyo Sky and Bayley. They come out and he asks if, when Iyo will cash in, and he asks her if she will cash in at SummerSlam. Bayley calls him an idiot, and if you think the genius in the bank, that's a nice name, the genius in the bank, will tell our strategy, then you're wrong. She's focused on her match against Zelina, and of course Iyo is blessing her tonight when she beats Zelina. And Shotzi sounds are coming all over from the arena, and Bayley gets scared, and then Grayson Waller laughs his ass off because he basically pranked Bayley. Then Shotzi actually does come out, and the tank comes out, and what happens is nobody comes out from the tank. There's somebody in the tank, but it's not Shotzi. Shotzi's actually behind Bayley. And what happens is she proceeds to go after Bayley, and she hits a right hand, and she has basically, she wants to shave her head, and Bayley ends up running away, but Shotzi continues to chase her around, especially into the Iyo Sky and Zelina Vega match. So we then have Iyo Sky and Zelina Vega, and by the way, Zelina Vega was the person in the tank. We get a double clothesline by both women. Both women fight it out. Iyo gets sent to the corner turnbuckles head first. On the second rope, Zelina hits repeated right hands, and then she ends up hitting a running clothesline on Iyo. We get a cover and a near fall. Zelina ends up going for the Meteora, and then we get a cover by Zelina and a near fall. We get a kick by Zelina, and then she tries to go for the Code Red, but Iyo counters. We then get the double underhook backbreaker by Iyo on Zelina, but then Iyo ends up going for the double knees on Zelina into the corner. Iyo goes to the top, but then meanwhile, Shotzi and Zelina are fighting on the stage. Shotzi almost shaves the head of Bayley, but Bayley escapes. At this point, Iyo is distracted. Zelina goes for the powerbomb, and we get the Code Red by Zelina. A Code Red, and we get a cover, and Zelina Vega wins the match. A Code Red can get you a win. If you watch any AEW match, you know for a fact a Code Red or Canadian Destroyer will not get you a win. Usually that's just for like high spot purposes, but a simple Code Red by Zelina got her the win. Just wanted to point that out there. Overall, it sucks that Iyo Sky lost. To me, I think she should have won this match, but knowing the story that they're telling with Bayley and Shotzi, I doubt it. I could honestly care less about what they're doing with Shotzi and Bayley. This whole segment was atrocious. I do not like Grayson Waller. I think he's talented, and I think he's fine when his promos, but I feel like he's a little bit forced. At least that's what I see. You may think differently, but I think he's pretty much forced. But for me, I'm not really that invested in this whole thing. Grayson Waller, I'm not really invested in. Iyo Sky, Bayley, Zelina Vega. I mean, I like Zelina Vega. I love the LWO, but let's be honest, the momentum from the LWO has fallen down a cliff ever since Backlash. So yeah, that's my thoughts on everything, but that's just what I think. We got a Bianca Belair video package. Of course, as I stated earlier, we had a video package basically showcasing all of the different women in the triple threat match for Asuka's Women's Championship. After that, we got the main event. we got Jey Uso taking on Solo Sikoa. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a pretty simple match. Nothing really long and special really happened on this match. But overall, this was not a bad match whatsoever. Of course, the bigger story is tonight at SummerSlam at Ford Field in Detroit, the former home of WrestleMania, or I should say the home of WrestleMania 23. I said the former home. The home of WrestleMania 23. We will be getting, of course, Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns in tribal combat. It's basically a no-holds-barred match for the undisputed Universal Championship. I've already said my piece on who should win, and honestly, it should be Roman Reigns. Look, I think Jey Uso will be a great champion. I see a lot of these tweets talking about how, quote-unquote, Jey Uso is not championship material. I swear to God, some of these takes are really stupid. It's not that Jey is not championship material. Jey is clearly championship material. This guy can have a really good singles run. Will Jey Uso be at the level of like an attraction like Roman Reigns? Will Jey Uso ever be an attraction like Roman Reigns? No. But he is good enough to be a top guy, and he is good enough to be a workhorse, kind of like Seth Rollins right now. Jey Uso is championship material. But if Jey Uso won the undisputed title, I think the shock value would be phenomenal. But if you think about it, how long would his title reign be? I doubt his title reign would last long, maybe a month. I doubt it. Let's be real here. So I do believe Roman Reigns will retain, but Jey Uso will look very, very, very strong. Also, if Jey Uso won that match, think about this. What happens with Cody Rhodes? You want to plan for Cody Rhodes, right? What happens to Cody? That's the problem you run into at the end of the day. But let's go through the match. Both lock up. We got a side headlock by Jey Uso, followed by a shoulder tackle by Solo. We then get a headbutt by Solo, but then Solo is in control. Solo screams, Jey ain't going to make it to SummerSlam. And then he bumps his head onto the announce table. He ends up exposing the announce table. And what happens is Solo tries to go for the spinning Solo, but then Jey counters and ends up hitting a super kick. Jey ends up going for the Tope Suicida. And after the Tope Suicida, we go to commercial break, and once we're back from break, Solo is in control. Solo then gets taken to the outside. Jey Uso runs into a right hand, and then he ends up hitting a Samoan drop. Solo ends up going for a second Samoan drop. Solo misses the hip attack attempt, but then Jey delivers a right hand. And what happens is when Jey delivers his right hands, he spits on his hand, and then he right hands Solo. Someone on social media pointed out that those give a little bit of Rock vibes, and they really do give a lot of Rock vibes. Could The Rock show up at SummerSlam? I know there's been a lot of rumors of The Rock showing up at the show. With the writer's strike happening now, I think The Rock, with the writer's strike happening right now, I think Rock is more likely to show up anytime now. But is he ever going to challenge Roman Reigns? I honestly doubt it. But he right hands Solo. We get a kick on Solo, followed by a right hand. Solo ends up going for a lariat. Jey is on the apron, but then he goes to the top. He ends up hitting the crossbody, and we get a cover and a near fall. Jey runs into a spinning heel kick. Solo goes for the spinning Solo, but then he sets up the Samoan spike. And what happens is he ends up hitting a super kick. Then we get a super kick by Solo. Jey goes for the spear. And then Jey goes to the top. We get the Uso splash. We get a cover by Jey, and Jey wins the match. After the match, what happens is Solo attacks Jey Uso. Of course Solo does. Solo's main objective is to weaken Jey Uso for Roman Reigns, so Roman Reigns could get a simpler win. He sends Jey to the ring post. He grabs the chair. We get a super kick on Solo. Of course, Jey has the chair, and then he hits it repeatedly on Solo Sikoa. He drives it on Solo, and then he lands into the timekeeper's area, and Jey Uso stands tall on the announce table, really riling the crowd up. And I'm telling you, that shit's going to get really over with the audience if he continues to do that. But the show ends with Jey Uso standing tall in the center of the ring. Overall thoughts on this whole thing. It was a great match. I mean, of course, you could have seen a lot better by both men, but nonetheless, this match did the job it needed to do. Of course, Jey Uso is going to go into tonight in the main event of SummerSlam to face Roman Reigns. What's interesting is, we all talk about Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, but we also need to talk about the role potentially that Solo is going to be playing, because they've been planting the seeds on Solo being the next tribal chief. What role will Solo play at SummerSlam tonight? Will he eventually turn on Roman Reigns, or is that something that's going to play out long-term at the end of the day? we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But nonetheless, this was a pretty good match that, closed SmackDown at the end of the day. And I'm excited for SummerSlam on what we're going to be seeing tonight. I think SummerSlam is going to be a phenomenal show. I'm excited for the main event. And I do believe WWE is going to deliver a home run when it comes to SummerSlam, like they've been doing with their PLEs and pay-per-views throughout the past couple of months, man. You may think the weekly shows are not the best, and trust me, they're not the best at all. But when it comes to their pay-per-views, they always hit fucking home runs. And that is something you got to applaud them for, because their pay-per-views have just been phenomenal, because they always focus on quality over quantity. AEW, always, focuses on, how do I say it? They focus more on more matches because you're paying $50 for those shows. But still, they deliver good shows. WWE is just delivering phenomenal shows at the end of the day. So yeah, that was my SmackDown review from August 4th, 2023. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Push that bell for notifications. Look out for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the Virgin referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys later for the SummerSlam 2023 post-show and review. See you guys later.